What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and I just wanted to chime in and give you guys some news updates, as there has been a handful of different bits of D&D news that have come out over the past week or so that you may not have seen, and a lot of you come to Nerd Immersion for D&D news, so I wanted to make sure I covered that. Most of it is just high-level fun stuff, but there is some actual changes at WotC leadership that is worth denoting if you're looking for someone to say comment or on something and you don't see it anymore. Well, it may be because they're no longer with the company. So before we go ahead and dive into the content for today, I wanted to talk to you about the returning sponsor for today's video, Factor. Now, you've heard me talk about Factor in the past. It is an awesome meal service that delivers fresh, never frozen food right to your door. And you can get these once a week in a variety of different meal options, from everything from keto to gluten-free to vegetarian. You have a ton of different options. And honestly, outside of the sponsorship of this video, which is from Factor, I have purchased these and I'm just using them on my own. I'm trying to do better about being healthy and get on a weight loss journey, and Factor is a really great way to do that. The food is, again, it's fresh, never frozen. It only takes 2 minutes in the microwave to heat up, which is awesome because when you're running around trying to keep on top of regular job stuff, children, households, dogs, D&D news, playtests, running campaigns, and things like that, my life is crazy. So, what's really easy for me to do typically is to just go grab some kind of fast food. But if I can go ahead and take 2 minutes, heat something up, whether I have to go into the office and do it there or just at home, Factor meals are just, again, they've become a staple of my life, and my wife and I are now using them again to try to jumpstart us being healthy by avoiding just quick kind of junky meals. So anyway, I do have a deal for you today. You can use the link that I have in the description or go to go.factor75.com and use the code POGNERD60 to get 60% off your first box. Again, there'll be a link in the video description at the top of it, as well as a pinned comment where you can go and check that out. So once again, a huge thank you to Factor for sponsoring this video. So let's jump in to the news for today. So first of all, we have some really awesome D&D action figures at Target. Now, it says they're for pre-order. It doesn't actually give us a release date, which is kind of a bummer, because I was hoping we could figure out when they're going to be, or whether it's worth me even trying to go look at Target tonight to see if I can even get one. But we have, from the classic cartoon, this 2-pack, which is available only at Target. So I guess they're really leveraging WotC, that Target exclusivity deal. We can get a Avenger and a Dungeon Master action figure. And as you can see, they have some different hands, but also we get an exclusive set of dice with these. So if you take a look, here's again some more up-close pictures here showing off the Dungeon Master. Here's Avenger and the DM. And you can see we get a percentile die with the Dungeon Master and the oversized D20 with Venger. Now, we've seen these oversized D20s before. If you've ever been to a WotC event of some kind, they kind of have those larger oversized die. And these are actually some of the nicest looking dice I've seen WotC put out in quite a while. So I'm actually quite a big fan of the die itself. I like the look of it. And we can also see, if you missed that we have some other of the D&D characters. We have Hank the Ranger comes with the D8. Bobby the Barbarian and Uni comes with a D12. And I think it was Diana the Acrobat comes with a standard-sized D20. So I'm assuming at some point we'll get Eric and Presto and everybody else, and that will lead to us getting the full die set, but currently they're not listed on the website. So I'll put a link in the description if you want to go pick these up from Target. Again, no time frame currently on when they'll release, but they're pretty awesome, and I'm definitely going to be picking up a set myself. I'll check at Target tonight and see if they're there. All right. The other one here is the new vice president. So first of all, Ray Winninger, who we've talked about here in the past a bunch, who was the president of Wizards of the Coast on the Dungeons and Dragons side, who was actually pretty nice about responding to tweets and things that I would throw his way. He was also really good about providing more context and more information about whatever announcement stream they did, actually giving more information than the announcement stream itself. However, if you look at his Twitter bio, as you can see right here, it used to say, hashtag WotC staff, head of Dungeons and Dragons. That has since been removed. He also hasn't tweeted in over a month. I don't know what's going on there, but he seems to no longer be involved as a head of Dungeons and Dragons. We don't really know why, but we also have this announcement here from RPG News that came out just a couple days ago. Hasbro announces new vice president of D&D. So it's Dawn Rawson, formerly of Microsoft Dynamics 365. So earlier this week, Hasbro announced both a new role at WotC and the person filling it. The new role was Senior Vice President of D&D, a role which presumably has the same authority as a non-D&D Vice President. So there's a tie for D&D. Presumably they'll cast a tie-breaking vote. Filling the shoes of the new role, Dan Rawson. I said Dawn before. Oh, it says Dawn here and it says Dan here. So I don't know. Here's what we know. According to Hasbro's announcement, Rawson will be stepping in with his decades of leadership in strategic business, e-commerce, and product management. Dan has joined WotC in a new role created as a senior vice president, formerly COO of Microsoft Dynamics 365, brings decades of leadership in strategic businesses, e-commerce, and product management. In the new role, he will lead overall D&D brand growth and profitability across digital, physical, and entertainment. The focus on digital and entertainment feels like an extension of WotC's big push as leaders of Hasbro's digital endeavors, which we know is to be true. Rawson was tapped to help expand the opportunities afforded by WotC's recent acquisition of D&D Beyond. And then it goes on to say he's thrilled to work with a talented team to expand the global reach of D&D. So we now know there's a senior vice president added, but we still don't know what happened to the president and who's going to hold that role. There also was an article released here, or a video released, I'm sorry. That is a Bungie video. We don't want that. We're going to pause that and go back to what I was talking about, which was this video from Forbes about resurgence of D&D. Could it be the next Harry Potter? Now, it's a 3-minute video. We don't really need to watch the entire thing here.
Theory, getting name checked by celebrities like Joe.
But they talk about how it's gained a lot of popularity from things like Big Bang Theory, Stranger Things, Joe Manganiello, and other celebrities.
Manganiello, Vin Diesel, and Stephen Colbert.
Again,
and attracting new fans through streaming shows like Critical Role and Dimension 20.
Dimension 20.
D&D is a tabletop role-playing game, which can be a little tricky to explain to the unfamiliar because in many ways it functions less like a traditional game and more like childhood make-believe. There's no winning or losing. The game takes place almost entirely in the minds of players, generally without any sort of board. Players create a character in a fantasy world, like a dwarvish fighter or an elvish wizard, and another player known as the Dungeon Master narrates a situation that they find themselves in. The players say how they'd like their characters to respond to that situation, and the Dungeon Master uses a rulebook and a set of dice to determine whether they're successful, and then narrates the outcome. The whole process repeats from there, making the game feel something like collaborative storytelling. The game has had its ups and downs, but it has been on a steady ascent since the 2014 introduction of 5th edition, which streamlined the rules of the game and helped make the game more accessible to new players. As Wizards of the Coast starts to make that new digital push, it also has a new leader, Cynthia Williams, who has some relevant experience there. She previously worked in Microsoft's Xbox division.
So this is a new leader. So I assume that Cynthia here is the person that has taken over for Ray. Again, no formal announcement, just kind of happened behind the scenes.
We had the opportunity to speak with Cynthia at Wizards of the Coast office outside Seattle.
I started at Amazon and grew fulfillment by Amazon from a startup. At about the 10-year mark, Phil Spencer was looking to scale Xbox beyond the console. So I wanted to take what I knew and then apply it somewhere else. And I fell in love with gaming as part of Xbox. And that led me to Wizards of the Coast.
Look at that drawer full of dice.
Dungeons and Dragons is about to celebrate its 50th anniversary in 2024. And it has had 9 consecutive years of growth. It is having this pop culture resurgence, but I really think it's about the people who played it when they were kids. They're introducing it to their kids. You know, and our data tells us that nearly half of the people who are playing tell us they play every week with their family. Today, our revenue stream has really come from publishing the books. We're looking to bring more fans into the party of loving Dungeons and Dragons with the release of a feature film in March of 2023. We have very high recognition and awareness among gamers aged 15 to 45.
Maybe I'll get to go to the release party.
We see a massive opportunity for people to be able to connect with it internationally. I think Dungeons and Dragons is so special and has had such a long history. To me, one of the most important things we do is be true to this brand, be true to its history and legacy, and help move it into this digital age.
Wizards of the Coast has big plans for D&D, but none of this is a sure bet. Wizards has to figure out how to nail the balance of selling more books without flooding the market or alienating the game's existing fans. But the company says 50 million people have played the game since 1974, and for now at least, it seems like that number is climbing. as long as D&D keeps expanding the party, it's poised for an epic adventure.
So again, that whole 1.5 times speed really kind of helps us get through those quicker. But it's interesting, we get to, I guess in theory, meet the new head of Wizards of the Coast. But like I said, no fanfare announcements that I saw, no thank you, Ray, for doing what you did. It just kind of happened all behind the scenes. But either way, interesting stuff there. Do you guys think that that's true? I feel like the pop culture resurgence led to the large increase in growth with things like Critical Role, Stranger Things, stuff of that nature. Less of the older generation teaching it to their kids. I'm sure that's part of it, and it definitely is. I would absolutely agree with that. But I think the pop culture resurgence hitting more things worldwide, right? Because, you know, Stranger Things is on Netflix. Netflix is a worldwide company. Possibly areas where they wouldn't normally have heard of it might have Netflix watch the show and be like, oh, what's this about? Less about, you know, hey, the groups that used to play it now are teaching their kids. Like I said, it's probably part of it, but I think pop culture is doing a lot more for Dungeons and Dragons than anything else. Speaking of, also very interesting that we're talking about transitioning away from the physical and moving into a digital age, which we are, and we know that's coming with 1D&D, as well as the variety of different virtual tabletops that I've covered in the past with new Kickstarters, as well as expanding existing virtual tabletops. We have one of the most interesting physical creations here, which is this Lego Ideas 50 Years of D&D Lego contest. So if you're unfamiliar with Lego Ideas is basically an opportunity for people to submit different ideas, build physical Lego sets, and say, hey, we think this could be the next big Lego set. And then this is how usually a lot of the really popular pop culture things get produced. Things like the Ghostbusters stuff, the Back to the Future sets, the Friends sets, things like this that people have seen in the past. They usually end up through Lego Ideas and then get formalized to become official Lego products. So there is currently running until the 14th of November where they're taking in the ideas for people. So it says, join us in celebrating 50 years of D&D. To celebrate those 50 adventure-filled years, we invite you to ignite your imagination and showcase your favorite aspects of the D&D game using Lego bricks, elements, and pieces. Basically, it says you can create whatever you want. We're talking detailed display models of your favorite character or monster, functional display models for players, dungeon masters, ultimate build with customizable elements, all rooted in the D&D world. And if we were to scroll down to the bottom here, we can actually see what people have already submitted, which let me know if you want in the future as we get closer to the end of the idea phase. I will go back through and we can cover everything that's been submitted already. But as you can see, people are providing, here's a Trogdor the Burninator, which is an interesting one for D&D related, but look, right? So there's a whole bunch here. I'm not going to be able to go through all of them, but like I said, if you want a dedicated video, we can do that. So let's go ahead and open a couple of these. I like the look of this Mimic, this DM screen. This is kind of what I'm also talking about. You can see things where they're just doing like a model of a character, like a red dragon. You could also see something like this, like a whole household, specific creatures. I'm sure there's going to be dice towers mixed in here, dioramas. Here's a Spelljammer ship. I like this one here. And then again, we've got this Bricks and Dragons. So let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of these real quick. So here's a DM screen. You can see we've got initiative trackers up here on the top using little, singular minifigs, and then you've got a sliding piece there to track your initiative. This middle piece looks to be a dice tower as well, built out of Legos, giving a very castle vibe. I like that a lot. Again, here's just a Mimic design. Here's a dragon. Again, we have the nice red dragon here over its hoard with, a little warrior there. Here again is a fully modular household that you could use again, which I would expect things like this to also potentially make it through. Here's another diorama showing an adventuring party. We've got a beholder. We've got some, looks like some centipedes. Here's a modular dungeon system with different miniatures where you can go ahead and again build things like terrain, which is obviously something you could use Lego for. And that's kind of all I've got. But like I said, if you want a full video when this comes to an end to just go through and take a look at all of them, we can definitely do that. Maybe even rank them, maybe even do it as a live stream. And lastly, I wanted to talk about some D&D novels that are going to be coming out in February. As mentioned in the previous video that we just saw, that the feature film is coming out in March of next year, which I'll obviously be covering, doing movie reviews. And like I said, fingers crossed, maybe get invited to a premiere party, but that's neither here nor there. But what's nice to see is that we're seeing the return of D&D novels. Now, these are all going to be tie-in novels leading into the movie coming out in March. So we have a couple of them here. We have this Honor Among Thieves, The Road to Neverwinter prequel novel. So it says every adventuring party has a starting quest. Join Edge and Darvis, who is Chris Pine's character, and a team of heroic, well, occasionally heroic heisters in their official prequel to the film D&D Honor Among Thieves. So we have this book coming out in February, and the way I see this is I believe this is going to be the history of the majority of the adventuring party. We know that Hugh Grant is ultimately the villain in the movie that we're going to watch, but in some of the flashback scenes, it seems as though Hugh Grant's character was possibly part of Chris Pine's character's original adventuring party. As such, it seems like I think something happened, a schism in the party, and then he left and went on to become the villain of the series. And then in the process of getting a new character to fill his place, I think that's where they're going to get the Tiefling Druid character to join their party in the course of what we saw, which leads into the fact that the Tiefling Druid character has her own origin story book, also releasing on the same day. It says, discover Doric's powerful druid origins in this thrilling young adult prequel to the film D&D Honor Among Thieves. So again, I think that's why she gets her own thing. We're getting her origin story separate from the original party because of the, good guys becoming bad guys kind of a situation. Again, also coming out on the same day. And then we also have D&D Honor Among Thieves, the deluxe junior novelization, also releasing on the same day. It says D&D Honor Among Thieves is a upcoming high fantasy heist film based on the popular role-playing game. Let's see. This feature film is retold in this hardcover deluxe junior novelization, perfect for children's ages 8 to 12, and includes a full color 8-page insert and poster. So I don't know if this is going to provide spoilers. It does still come out also again on the 7th of February. It seems to be showing off what we believe to be Themberchaud, the sort of chunky red dragon from Out of the Abyss, which we do see in the trailer. So I don't know, again, if this will provide spoilers to us for the movie ultimately, but there you go. So anyway, folks, let me know. Again, as always, a huge thank you to everyone who's always sent over any kind of bits of news to me. I really appreciate when you do that. It helps me saving the legwork of doing the research myself. And then, hey, you might find something that I didn't. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. If I missed any news, please let me know. I'll make a follow-up video. Let me know how you feel about the Lego things. Would you like to see me cover all of those options in a standalone video in the future? Thank you again to Factor for sponsoring this video, and I will see you all next time.